When clients think about managing reactivity, what often comes to mind for them is a process of learning how to settle down and be calm enough to hang in for those hard conversations, to not do any more damage to the relationship, which certainly is helpful and it does support connection when conversations are not happening from reactive states. But settling and being nice can be really just another form of containment that is just barely covering an entire world of disconnection and maybe even creating another form of distance. So, clients can often experience a really profound moment of revelation when they realize that managing reactivity is actually one of the biggest gifts they can give themselves. It is such an incredibly powerful path for healing and actually learning how to receive what they've been fighting for or longing for all along. So, to make this more real, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how this looks. I'll share with you through the lens of someone who shuts down as a form of reactivity and someone who fights. There's many forms of reactivity, but these are a couple of the classics that you're probably really familiar with seeing. So let's first talk about that person who shuts down. Say, in session, we've been seeing when their partner starts to talk about a more challenging topic, they glaze over, they get quieter, right? They've been supported in studying, learning to recognize, oh, this is a pattern, an old chronic pattern that takes over. And hopefully they've also been learning about what are the tender needs underneath this pattern, right? Oftentimes, if someone is going into shutdown, it's because they learned earlier on in life something like, the conversation is not going to be able to go at a pace that I can keep up with. It's going to be overwhelming, right, for my system, and the only way I can take care of myself is to shut down, right? Or my voice is not going to be heard no matter how hard I try, so I might as well shut down, right? So there's some earlier, more tender need that this shutdown pattern is associated with. Let's use the example for this person that maybe it's pace, right? They just get really overwhelmed at the speediness of the processing of the other person, and they're not able to stay connected to themselves and the other. They need a different pace. But the shutdown, they learn through studying it, is not actually having them claim this need for their pace. So now, fast forward, this person who's learned to track this reactivity, has learned the tender needs that are underneath it. Now they get to have this opportunity to, right there in the moment, manage reactivity, to pause, regulate their physiology, get reconnected to what is the life-serving need that for them they've been giving up on, and can they bring it in? Can they ask their partner, can they say, hey, I am realizing I want to stay with you, but I'm getting lost in the content, and make specific requests that would help them to meet at their pace. It might be something like, would you be willing to just let me reflect back what I'm hearing so far and make sure I'm with you before we add any more on? Or maybe it's a request of, would you be willing to share that last piece you were talking about, but maybe could you try to just share it in two minutes and then give me a moment to reflect and make sure I'm understanding and get that, reflect that back to you and clarify before we add the next piece. Now, this person who had the experience of when things get going quickly, there's just not room for them. They live in a world where shutting down is the only way to take care of themselves. This person is now learning to open to relationships being a place that can also include their need for their pace. They don't have to shut down anymore. What a gift for this person. They get to be present, and what a gift for their partner, of course, because their partner likely was speeding up so much, saying so much because they were trying to reach them, right? Which is its own challenging strategy. Okay. Move over to the fight example. So the client who, in challenging moment, maybe gets a little more a charge in the body, starts speaking quickly, starts pointing, starts blaming, starts working really hard building a case, right? Let's say in sessions we've been working on recognizing reactivity. They've been learning, oh, here is an old pattern. I had to be louder to be able to be heard in my family. So when things get tender, I don't anticipate I'm going to be heard, I'm going to be considered, I'm going to be cared for. And so I start working extra hard to try to draw the other person towards me. Maybe they're starting to see, oh, and this pattern has this impact of actually my partner kind of goes away. They're not as actually as available, or they just kind of submit to me when I do this, right? And we start to open towards the missed experience for them, which was the very thing they missed when they were younger, having the capacity to just get to say, hey, this is what's happening for me. These are the needs that are up for me. This is what I would like to have be considered. And to experience the other being there, hearing them, holding compassionate curiosity, without them having to work so darn hard. And it might feel really vulnerable also for this person to settle that system. There's not an anticipation that that kind of nourishment is going to be there. But when they learn that managing reactivity is about making space for themselves to get to have that experience that they long for, that they have a hard time imagining is possible, then we can head into that terrain of them managing reactivity and regulating and opening to the very thing they wished for all along. Now, maybe their partner has a lot more ease in hearing them, letting them know they're right there with them, they're present. So yes, the managing of reactivity, very supportive for the partners who are experiencing. People don't usually enjoy each other's reactivity and how it shows up in relationship. So it certainly strengthens the bond, but it also is such a deep and incredible pathway for healing. Managing reactivity in this way becomes a profound act of self-love and certainly tends to bonding and safety and repair in the relationship. So, next time reactivity arises in a client, I invite you to remember that this is a doorway for really deep healing and liberation from old patterns that no longer serve. And this is also, I'm going to name the components of all the different relationship competencies that build and how managing reactivity makes room for these other aspects. So when clients can recognize their reactivity, when they can manage their reactivity, they can then drop into deeper self-empathy. They can get really connected to what would actually serve their life. Then they can bring that forward with more honest expression, conveying the need, really specific and doable strategies that would let their partner know how they could actually meet them in that moment. This pathway really shifts the energy from one of protection to one of invitation, really inviting the other to truly see what would be life-serving for them. This is the heart of managing reactivity. It is not just about behavior management. It is really about transformation and opening the door to a much more nourishing life. I've seen so many clients and couples just be incredibly moved by the profound transformation that happens when they start to see managing reactivity as a gift for themselves. So, as a therapist, I'm just going to invite you to reflect if you'd like. When you have clients, when you help clients recognize and manage their reactivity, are you primarily guiding them through managing behavior, or are you also helping them to truly meet the tender needs that are underneath it? How might you guide your clients to move beyond their reactive patterns and discover the deeper healing experiences that their reactive activity is pointing towards? Those healing experiences that they didn't know could be met for them. If this resonates with you and you'd like to learn more on how to guide your clients in turning moments of reactivity into moments of expansion, I'd love for you to learn more with us. And until next time, as always, let's continue to lead with love.